Alright, hey guys.
How are you?
Good.
Hey, man.
How's it going? Hi.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi. Nice to meet you too.
So this is Daniel Bryan, and
And this is Ian.
so one very important person to me, this Zayas, he's the one that actually opened up the school. He pretty much got the ball rolling in the country.
Ah, awesome.
Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we wanted.
Thank you.
Just to let you know what's going on. It's a little local game that we have. It's like hacky sack. What do you call it?
Okay, yeah.
So they're just competing to get the chair. Whoever managed to keep it up the longest, keep it up. I mean, you know, that was out of context. Okay, back to the food.
Yeah. It's a hell of a contest.
Haven't gotten off food yet. No video.
How long ago did you open the school?
It's only been about almost 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many students do you have?
We have about 30 plus now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from 4. Yeah,
Wow.
we have about 30 plus.
Oh, that's great. And then do you guys do shows or no?
So far we've done about like 4 shows.
Okay.
Yeah. But next year we're planning to go all out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
we just got our own wrestling ring. Because previously we used to wrestle in a boxing ring.
Ah,
And
that's the worst.
There's
Yeah.
no give or anything.
Yeah,
It's like,
I started training in a boxing ring. That's how I started.
So you
training
understand that
wrestling.
feeling?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know until I went and wrestled in a wrestling ring how different it was.
Exactly. When I went to Singapore, where they had an actual ring,
Yeah.
that was the first time I felt the gift of the ring. And
Yeah.
It was like big to us who's used to boxing rings.
Yeah.
It still hurts, man.
Well, but it's nice because some people learn in like a giving ring, and then for example the WWE ring is pretty hard, right? And so like the New Japan ring is hard.
Yeah.
So like the Ring of Honor ring is kind of
very
soft.
yeah.
And so if you were to learn in the Ring of Honor ring, and then you have to go to a harder ring, it's really tough. Like we did a show in Cyprus. It's an island in the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And they just had a kickboxing ring that had 4 ropes on each side, and it was stiff as concrete. And a lot of the guys were like, oh, we can't do anything in that. But I was taking back body drops, all that kind of stuff, and like because if you're trained, if you're trained in a hard ring, then you can handle anything.
Exactly.
So yeah, but if you train in one of these bouncy rings, then like
then you cannot
yeah.
transition to other rings. Right?
Yeah.
We've got 30 students now, man.
I'm still waiting for you to come in.
View everything
Taking
and
forever.
casually walk in the ring and out of the ring.
Yeah.
But,
Cheer
you
them
know.
on. Good job, guys.
Well, I was taking one of those bumps. You get it, man.
Yeah.
It's,
But you
not
should
me.
take at least one bump. Just one bump.
You have vengeance against. I noticed you've been trying to. Man. So
Actually, we went to like pro wrestling is something that mainstream to the people in Malaysia because pro wrestling now is before this pro wrestling is about
Thank you.
bit not many people know about wrestling.
Yeah.
They just feel that wrestling is a negative aspect, fighting and so on, but they don't know the beauty of the pro wrestling.
Right.
So we are in our club trying to make wrestling is one way of healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
That is a part of martial art.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too because like if you look at like older wrestlers, like if you look at Dory Funk or somebody like that, Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler just wrestled a match, right?
Yeah.
And they're in their 60s. You know what I mean? And there's a certain style of wrestling that you can't do when you're that old. But those kind of guys, their style of wrestling to me is very artistically beautiful, and they can do it well into their 60s, and guys were doing it into their 70s and stuff like that. You know, like there's a grace to it, you know, and so and that's like to me it's hard to explain that to the media, you know, but it's there when you're looking for it. So I always try to, when I'm talking to like the casual media, I always try to bring up the art side of professional wrestling because that's what it is to me. Like to me, the hardest part about not wrestling right now is that I don't have this creative outlet, right? This has been my creative outlet ever since I was 18 years old, and so now I don't have it. So now what do I do with myself? I'm just just like, ugh.
Is that what the gardening?
Yeah.
It's not very creative though, right?
Yeah, it's more figuring stuff out, you know. But it's like, okay, I have to figure out when to water stuff and that. But it's not the creative thing. Like
It's
cooking.
not biochemistry.
Yeah, like
rather than-
cooking, I get some of that creativity, but the
comparison with being in the
yeah,
ring, I'm sure.
yeah, it's very, very different. So,
Well, there's always the game. For some of us, that's as far as we're gonna
oh
get.
yeah,
Believe you me, my character can beat just about everyone.
Are you going to change your style of wrestling when you go back? Maybe more safer? Or just gonna...
well, see, it's interesting. People ask me that, but there was nothing about my style that caused this last concussion. I just got kicked in the head, right? And so, like, I came back from my neck surgery, and my neck surgery was a culmination of years and years and years and years and years of being the small guy, of always being tossed around, and it finally just had its breaking point. But for having wrestled for 15 years and only having one major surgery, that's really good. And but then the concussion thing, I was literally just, my head was against the ropes and I got kicked in the head, and then they started putting together, like, wait a second, we've got him listed as a concussion here, a concussion here, a concussion here, and then then they start getting worried about that. So Bree asks me that all the time. She's like, she wants me to change my style. And I keep saying to her, one, I like the style that I do. I think it's exciting, and I think the fans like it too. And Steve Austin actually called me, and he was like, when you come back, you know you need to change your style, right? I'm like, but it's different because for Steve Austin, he was 6'2", right, and 250 pounds. For me, I'm much smaller than everybody else. So part of my style is getting thrown around. And if all of a sudden I stop getting thrown around, then it doesn't seem like, it doesn't, like, if I'm in there with, I don't know, the Ryback, and he doesn't throw me around, then what does he give me? Yeah, it's just weird. So yeah, I've been thinking about it and trying to figure out something that would work, but Bree is also interested more in my longevity than anything else, so yeah, she doesn't care if I ever wrestle again. She just wants me to be healthy and to be able to play with our kids. So yeah, so I don't know. I'm working on it.
So no more diving headbutt?
So I actually, after I came back from my neck surgery, I didn't do the diving headbutt. Yeah, it's funny because some things hurt more when you hit them than when you miss them. So I would go up for it, and sometimes I would miss it. But it's when I would hit, and then my head, because when you hit somebody with a diving headbutt, it jars your neck backwards. When I miss, then I just land flat. So it's worse actually. It's worse on my neck when I hit it than when I miss it. So I was very conscious of that when I came back. So.
Out of all of your trainers, who is your favorite?
Of my trainers, William Regal. Yeah, he's to me he's the best trainer I've ever seen. I haven't seen Lance Storm train. Apparently Lance Storm is very good, but the way William Regal explains things is like he's very good at explaining, and he also makes sure that you master things, right? There's one thing between teaching somebody to bump and they can do it right a couple of times. It's another thing to teach somebody to bump and for them to do it right every single time. And that's sometimes when I see some of the NXT people that aren't the independent people. Like, so for example, like Samoa Joe and Finn Balor, they've learned how to bump properly, so they can do the bigger bumps. But when I see the less experienced people try these very difficult bumps, and to me, when I watch, I feel like they haven't mastered the basics. It makes me feel nervous for them, because you can do that when you're young, but then if all of a sudden you're 30 years old and you've been bumping for 6 years and you've been bumping most of the time okay, but 1 out of every 6 or 7 bumps isn't very good, then all of a sudden you run into problems, you know. And you can see that even with WWE guys who have been wrestling a long time that aren't particularly good in those kind of aspects. You know, they get hurt more. So
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you think the missing of Daniel Bryan in WWE right now is one of the factors that brought that low rating?
I don't think it's specifically me. It's a lot of things. One of the things I think is that there's nobody really that the fans are rooting for, right? That's the part where I am missed, right? People liked rooting for me, like this underdog character and that sort of thing. And right now it doesn't seem like there's anybody that the fans are really behind. The fans really like want to see do something. Like they want that for Ambrose, and they wanted that for Cesaro, but so with Cesaro hurt, it's really taken that one person away, and so now you really have just one person that you're rooting for in a 3-hour show, and you need to have like 3 or 4 people that you're rooting for in this 3-hour show. You know, and even somebody like John Cena, who gets a mixed reaction from the crowd, at least there are people who want him to succeed, but then there are people who want him to fail, and people care, right? And that's the interesting part. It's hard when you have a bunch of people that the fans don't quite care about. And then too, 3 hours is a long time. Yeah, it's just, it's just hard because I think they make so much money from the TV companies for doing the 3 hours. But like, yeah. But I just think of it like, okay, so that new Star Wars movie is coming out, right? So they've done 6 Star Wars movies. I don't know if any of them are 3 hours long, right? But they've done, so say none of them are. Say they're just 2.5 hours. And then if you ask them, hey, will you make another Star Wars next week? And then make another Star Wars the week after that? And then make another Star Wars the week. By the end of it, people will be like, Star Wars sucks. Yeah. There's too much of it. But that can also be an excuse as far as like, another problem is that some of the really good talent that we've had, somebody like Sheamus, I think Sheamus is really good, actually, as a wrestler. But they've treated him almost like a joke, and then all these people leave, and then now you have to treat him as a main eventer, and that's hard. People's perception doesn't change that fast, right? You have to like build somebody into that. So,
especially nowadays, social networking, you can keep in touch with what people are doing outside in their outside lives.
Yeah.
He's being a heel, though.
Yeah. Well, he's legitimately one of my favorite people to wrestle because of his style, and he has a really good style for like a main event guy. It's just that after he won Money in the Bank, they treated him so bad, right? And it was almost like a joke, So.
Talking about Sheamus, so you're facing him at WrestleMania 39.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your, after losing in 18 seconds, what's your...
WrestleMania
28, yeah.
What's your, after losing in 18 seconds? So how do you feel?
So I hated that. So that was, I was actually really mad about that whole thing. But it turned out sometimes you get mad about stuff and it ends up being the best thing for you.
I was there and I remember the yes chant.
Yeah, the best thing that could have ever happened to me was losing to Sheamus in 18 seconds. If we would have gone out there and had like a 25 to 30 minute match and it was awesome or whatever, and then he beat me, fans wouldn't have been angry, and the yes chants wouldn't have exploded. So sometimes bad things happen, but they end up being better for you, and that's kind of what happened with that.
In your opinion, is there hope for pro wrestlers from small companies, from small countries?
What's that?
In your opinion, do you think there's hope for pro wrestlers from small companies and small countries like us?
So, hope for what? To get to WWE?
Hope to make it big in the States.
Okay, so, yeah, and here's why. So, WWE just signed 2 Indian wrestlers. who don't have any experience.
From Kali school, right?
Yeah, what's that?
Is it from the Kali school or just?
No, not from Kali school. One was did kabaddi. I don't know if you know what that is, and another did Indian oil.
Indian wrestling.
Yeah, and then another guy did some sort of Indian oil wrestling type thing, and they were champions. But the idea is that if either of these people can make it to TV, we can go to India and sell out whenever, and that is a huge advantage. For example, if we have a wrestler from Malaysia, and we come to Malaysia, even if that person never gets past, but seriously, like the Yoshitatsu, right?
Yeah.
Even if they never get past that Yoshitatsu level, every time we come to Malaysia, people will be going crazy for him, right? It's different in Japan with Yoshitatsu because Japan has their own wrestling, and so I think they almost viewed him as a failure as far as like he did good. He did better than people thought because he wasn't thought of highly in like New Japan and that sort of thing. So, but it was like, well, we want our stars to get to that next level, right? They want Hideo Itami to get to that next level, for him to come in and at least be Intercontinental Champion or United States Champion, you know, that sort of thing. But when you come to a place like this, if you were just regularly on TV, right, and you won some and you lost some and that sort of thing, that would be a huge deal here. And WWE could put you in the main event and people would pay to come see it, and that helps us, right? So like, you think from a marketing perspective, like it is helpful to have people from all these different countries, even if it's not on WWE TV, even if it's NXT, because they're starting to do more with NXT, right? So like NXT is touring England, I think this month. So NXT is doing international tours, and that's because the network is so, like, now the network is here on TV. Like, it's not on TV in the United States, you know, like it's just, you have to have the app and that sort of thing. Here it's on TV, and then you can get all this content. So that makes, like, you know, in some of the countries, I think it was India, they were saying they air NXT on television on Saturdays, like in just regular TV. And so that's, you know, that sort of thing makes people from countries like here, and if you're an independent wrestler in a smaller country, and if they see potential in you, then we see potential in that guy, and if we can train him and even put him on NXT TV, man, we might be able to do a tour of Malaysia, and we might be able to sell that out with NXT or something like that, you know. So I think there's a good chance that people in smaller companies in countries like this can get a shot at it. So, yeah.
You better get a bite, man.
What's that?
And, like, you've been threatening to take a bite out of that, and it's been put down.
Yeah. I get to yakking. I'm a yakker. Sometimes I get to yakking and I don't shut up. Bree tells me that all the time. She's like, oh, you talk too much. So.
How long have you guys fought? I mean, what's the longest you've been?
Oh man, this these last couple months have been tough because she's been on the road but also doing Total Diva stuff. So we didn't see each other for 3 weeks. I saw her for 2 days, then I didn't see her for 3 weeks. And then she was actually in Paris during the Paris attacks, and so like that was scary. So then when she came back, I actually flew to Charlotte to meet her, and then yeah, but then that was another like 3 weeks that we were apart. So right now we're in the middle of, like, when I finally see her, I'll see her next Wednesday, and that'll have been a little over 2 weeks since I've seen her.
From time to time, like a long distance relationship, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, but I see her most weeks. And it was different when I was on the road, because then at least we were on the road together. So it was like, even if we were on different loops, so say she might be in Columbus, Ohio, and I might be somewhere else, we would always meet up Sunday night before Raw, and then we'd do Raw together, SmackDown together, and fly home together, have Wednesday, Thursday together, you know. So
Sometimes being in a relationship with someone in the industry.
yeah. So it has its pluses and its minuses. The pluses are she really understands. Like, she really understands the struggle, and like, I was in relationships before where I wouldn't get, we'd finish the show, I wouldn't get into the next town until 3 a.m. And they'd be like, why are you out till 3 a.m.? No, you don't understand. I was just driving. I had to drive 250 miles to the next town. And Brie understands. She knows that when I get in, like when I text her and say, just got to the hotel and it's 3 a.m., she's like, yeah, he had a long drive. Like, she knows, you know, and same thing with me, yeah. And like, also know that, like, people think that there's like, if you're not a part of it, you think that there's all this partying on the road, and some people party, but realistically, you're too tired.
Yeah, you can't maintain
it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, we might need to move on.
Oh, well.
So I'll let you finish up what we need to. Yeah, sure.
I'm Japanese. I draw something for you.
Oh, okay, awesome. Oh, thank you.
You in your younger years, you look.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Actually, a real character from
Oh, really? This is a real character?
No.
That's cool.
Come around for a group photo. Yeah, go.
So can we see
Daniel Bryan versus Kurt Angle anytime soon, do you think?
If
You guys want your photos?
if WWE doesn't let me wrestle, maybe.
Okay, you're doing camera mode. Okay, cool.
Look here, 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry, one more. 1, 2, 3. Look here, look here. Saya. AG langsung. AG.
Okay, sorry. Can I just clear the plate so that it's not so?
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't give you a very nice.
Alright.
Alright, let me do this again.
Yeah.
Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3.
Right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Nice.
Alright, thank you.
Can I get you to
sign something?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. That's super cool. Oh, yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Oops. I don't think it doesn't work.
Anybody got a pen?
anybody pinjam pen.
Alright.
Biar pen. Oh, ada pen.
Alright.
Can I have a photo, please? Thank you.
Alright.
Alright, we gotta sign it. Moving, guys.
Thank you. It's gonna be the last one. Sorry.
Alright.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. So what? Selfie. Thank you so much.
Alright, you're welcome.
Yes.
Eman.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, itu kan.
Ada gambar murah.
Doesn't want to say. Jadi pas dulu.
Tadi aku punya makan.
Oh, tadi.
Hanya bila habis nanti.
Tengah, nak jual.
Hah?
Jual.
Tidak macam nasi tumpeng. Instagram dia.